Hello everyone, welcome back to Recap Legends. Today I'm going to explain Madmax Fury. A boy named Max comes onto the scene as the story of the film starts. He was a warrior and he was solitary, having no family. Because his family came to end when the earth was ruined. So he is surviving alone on this barren land. Max observes some vehicles driving toward him. Then he is driving away and gets in his car. But they capture Max going at a distance. Then they are moved to a place imprisoning Max. Actually, it was the army of brutal men who had captured Max. And that brutal name was Immortan Joe. No government or management remained behind when the world rooted out with its inhabitants. They had no administration, so they were leading a savage life. But Immortan Joe has all the facilities like meals, water, fuel, etc. And the whole administration was being regulated there by Immortan Joe. His army used to battle for him. Immortan Joe and his army were also infected by some diseases, so they were not well. They suffered from such a disease in which blood was required them. The whole army used to consider Immortan Joe as his god. Because they only had fuel, which was their precious wealth. There was nothing except it. Otherwise there was also a shortage of food on the earth. There were also other tribes except Immortan Joe's. But those tribesmen were thought ordinary. When they bring Max as a prisoner there, and they state on his back that he is a universal blood donor. Because his blood group was O negative. Max tries to run away from those people, but he is caught. Then Immortan Joe is seen coming outside. He was not at least a human being. Because his skin was too infectious. And he had masked his mouth mysteriously for breathing. Because Immortan Joe's lungs and liver were damaged. So he had a breathing problem. People used to sloganize his name whenever he stepped outside. For a while he activates the water system and flows it for the people, and all are crowded to take it. And Immortan Joe used to deactivate the water system according to his will. Then a lady named Furiosa appears. In fact, she was the daughter of Immortan Joe. Otherwise, she was also the lieutenant of Immortan Joe's army. Furiosa is visiting his nearby area for a deal. Because time had changed and it seemed difficult to survive. They had patterned their vehicles according to the war. Furiosa is driving war rig while her army was pursuing her. She changes his track of driving and does not move to their planned place. Immortan Joe notices that Furiosa has changed his way to travel. He begins to suspect his daughter Furiosa. So he moves to a cabin where there is a written statement on the floor. Your children will not hold the seat of commanders. Immortan Joe had 4 wives because he wanted to extend his generation and later teach them the art of war. But Furiosa is driving away taking Immortan Joe's wives. Afterward Immortan Joe alerts his army. Because Immortan had realized that Furiosa has started to revolt. Immortan's army was ready to sacrifice their lives for him. But the great follower of Immortan's army was Nux. He was also infected and blood is required for the body. He will be the apple of Immortan, who will bring his wives back. So Nux wanted to prove his loyalty here. Here it is observed that Max's blood was supplied to Nux's body. So Nux was extremely happy because the blood was required for him. So he takes Max with him. He was taking Max after strapping him to the vehicle. He had also masked his face, and that mask was made of iron. His army begins to pursue Furiosa. War was only the purpose of their lives. They used to rejoice in the battle. Going to battle, they often played music in their vehicles. Moreover, they also had deadly weapons. One more tribe attacks Furiosa when she is moving toward her destination. All warriors had their own pursuit of this war who had arrived at that place. Immortan wanted to battle Furiosa for his wives. While that tribe wanted to battle for that Furiosa's war rig. It had the fuel which was considered their wealth. Nux reaches Furiosa while driving his vehicle speedily. But Furiosa strikes his vehicle. Then the sandstorm breaks out. It was directed towards them. Nux had reached nearer to Furiosa's war rig. Because he had aimed to capture Furiosa at any cost. Even he also thinks about the suicide bombing. So that there may be an explosion and Furiosa's rig stops. They drive further in the sandstorm. Max had knowledge that he will also be dead because of the explosion. So he forbids Nux to do it. At first sight Nux's vehicle crashed. Then the sight is shown after the sandstorm. Max had restored his sense but his face was covered with an iron mask. Moreover, he was also tied with Nux. Lifting Nux up, he moves forward. There Max observes the war rig of Furiosa. He witnesses the wives of Immortan going there. One of Immortan's wives was expectant. Max points his gun at them. He imprisons them. First of all, Max asks them for water. Those girls hand him over a water pipe. Then he asks a cutter to cut the straps with which he was tied. One of Immortan's wives helps Max. She tries to cut that chain but of no use. Furiosa notices that Immortan has to move toward her. Furiosa wants to flee because of having no time, so she attacks Max. He confronts her and hits her. Meantime, Nux also attacks Furiosa, coming into senses. Nux cuts the chain of Max while helping him. Nux tries to drive away, grabbing Furiosa's war rig. But that war rig is stopped while covering a little distance. It was not restarting. Actually, she had set a code in her war rig. And there was a requirement to activate that code after a time. Then that war rig used to start. And Furiosa was the only one who knew the code. So they run to the war rig and reveal the whole story of it to Max. Here he says, "I will only take Furiosa with me. And Immortan will stop pursuing them after getting his wives." But she rejects it, saying, "I will also bring these girls with me. Because I am going to a safe place where the chances of survival are possible." Agreeing with Furiosa, Max also takes Immortan's wives with him and they immediately drive away. But Immortan's army was still chasing them. A problem is generated in the war rig, so he repairs it, coming outside. That war rig again becomes operative. Meanwhile, Max removes that iron face mask. It is noticed that Nux had also got in the war rig of Furiosa, and he has attacked Furiosa. Then Immortan's wives assist Furiosa. Here Furious wanted to kill Nux, but Immortan's wives suggest to her, "Don't kill him. He is doing this as a subordinate of Immortan." So she throws him down from her war rig. Furiosa and her people were driving forward speedily. There is a passing way between the mountains, so they direct themselves there. Coming on the way to the mountains, Furiosa hides Max and Immortan's wives because there lived a tribe there. They were also bikers, and Furiosa had dealt with that tribe that she will bring much fuel for them. In return, they will let Furiosa pass the way safely. And they explode at the starting point of the mountain. So the road may block Immortan and his army. But those bikers of the tribe show their anger at Furiosa when they witness a large army of Immortan. They say to Furiosa, "We had thought that there will be a small army unit, but it is a large army." So she had already informed Max of the next step which is to be taken. And she had also revealed that code to Max. Feeling threat, she signals him to run away. Max carries it out and he is driving away in war rig. While the tribesmen of bikers are also exploding there. Because they had thought that Immortan and his army are going to enter their region. Furiosa tries to get in her war rig, but she is attacked by a biker. Anyhow, she survived. Now the way of the entrance had been blocked for Immortan. But they were moving forward towards their destination. But those bikers chase Furiosa because they had got the wind that there is also someone else with her. Because Furiosa had given her words that she only will be the survivor from here. Immortan and his army are trying to move further through the blocked path. Immortan witnesses Nux there and join him in his army. While bikers were chasing Furiosa and her companions to capture them. Those bikers attempt to set the war rig on fire. But Furiosa and Max bravely confront them. Immortan is going to fire his gun on Furiosa moving near the war rig. Then that pregnant lady appears in front of Immortan. Immortan lets her go because she was going to be the mother of his kid. Nux is caught at a place because of the chain in his hand. And he had also a gun which has also fallen down. Immortan is infuriated seeing it. There was also a giant in that army who was actually the son of Immortan. That giant attacks them, using a thrower that hits directly on the steering of war rig. That steering is going to detach because of the thrower, but that expectant lady cuts that thrower's chain with a cutter. Now the war rig was again under the control of Max. But that expectant lady is thrown out and Immortan's vehicle was also moving from the backside. He wanted to secure the expectant lady, so he adjusts the steering. Immortan stops there for his expectant wife. While Furiosa and her companions drive forward, one of Immortan's wives comes back and witnesses Nux there. Now Nux decides that he will help out the wives of Immortan. Furiosa reveals her purpose to Max at night. She tells Max, being a child, I used to live in the meadow. This was the cause its name was Green Region. And she used to live there with her family. Then Immortan attacks there and he took Furiosa with him, adopting her. She says, I want to return to my family so I may survive like a human. Because the people are not leading their lives here less than a savage. Then they pass a place which was a marsh where their war rig is entrapped. On the other side Immortan's army was still pursuing them. The expectant wife of Immortan was no more. Immortan's man checks that Immortan's kid has also been dead. Immortan loses his temper at the loss of his kid. Immortan says to his son, you had a brother who has died. Now that son was telling everyone there while screaming, I had a brother who has died now. Contrarily, Warrig was still entrapped in the marsh. They were trying to free it but to no avail. There was also a withered tree. Nux says we may free our Warrig from it through this tree. They notice that Immortan's close companion is moving toward them. So Max targets them with his sniper gun but it is missed. Then Furiosa targets them as a result. Immortan's companion's eyes are spoiled and he is now blind. But Immortan's companion does not stop and is moving to them while firing his gun. They struggle hard to bring the Warrig from the marsh and succeed. Their Warrig is freed and they drive further. Then they reach a place. There was a tower and a lady was shouting for help there. Max thoughts that it is a trick played for them. In spite of this, Furiosa gets off. Some of the bikers also reach there. Here it is revealed that a lady calling for help was actually the mother of Furiosa. There was also another old woman who had some seeds. These were the seeds of vegetables and fruits which were the last ones in the world. But they had not to land to sow these seeds. Furiosa had come here with the hope that it is the place of the meadow. She is dejected seeing the land which has turned barren. Being disheartened, she shouts and weeps. Furiosa's mother tells her actually that the marshy place where you came was the land where we had to sow the seeds. But that land has also turned to barrenness, it was meadowland before. The effects of radiation have turned the whole land into barren land. They decide at night that they will take the ladies and seeds to a place where there is a chance of survival. It means it may be meadowland. So they agree to have no option. Max says to Furiosa, see you, because he was going to start his journey. The next morning they give a bike to Max. But Max begins to visualize his family members who were wanting to say, help Furiosa and her companions. Then Max changes his plan. And he drives his bike back to them. Max explains to Furiosa that if you want to start your new life and search for Meadowland, you may return to that place from where you have come. But there was a threat to them because of Immortan. But Furiosa agrees to trust in Max. She takes that way from where she had come. It means the region of Immortan. Immortan again starts to chase them after knowing that Furiosa and her fellows are returning back. The war breaks out among them here. Max attempts to kill Immortan. But that old lady is put to death who had seeds. Then Furiosa pulls that Immortan's mouth mask. That mask was stuck with Immortan's face, so his face is more horrified later. Immortan is dead on the spot. Then Nux sacrifices his life here. He explodes his vehicle. Furiosa is also fatally wounded, but she had reached her region now. Knowing that Immortan is dead, his army is excited. They are left shocked seeing that Furiosa has come back. And they accept Furiosa as their commander and they bring her upward. Here Max sets out to his destination and Furiosa looks at him going. Then a meadow location is shown in that region. As a commander, Furiosa will amend everything in the future. The movie also completes with this. If you like the explanation, please like and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.